So it's true. My daughter wants absolutely nothing to do with me, and it's all because I refuse to let her use my home as her wedding venue, even though I let her stepsister do it. Yeah, I know, it sounds kind of crazy, right? But you don't understand my family dynamics. See, I have a restraining order against my ex-wife and her entire side of her family, who, by the way, are nuts. So why would I want them to come to my home to have a wedding? I don't care if I had a nice wedding at my house for my stepdaughter. My biological daughter's just going to have to get over it. And that's the bottom line, but I do have multiple updates. Let's get into it. I'm 50 years old, male. I never thought I'd be riding on one of these internet things, but I'm sitting here in the wee hours of the night questioning everything about myself as a dad. And I need outside perspective because my family has completely turned on me. It's bad. 2 years ago, my stepdaughter Logan married her husband Mark at our countryside property in British Columbia. We have 12 acres with a renovated barn and this gorgeous meadow that looks like something out of a fairy tale when the sun sets. My wife Megan and I spent months preparing everything, stringing lights through the trees, building a dance floor, even installing a permanent gazebo. The wedding was perfect. One of those nights where everything just clicks, you know? Well, Mark had been working for my father's company for years, and I mean years. Everyone has gotten along beautifully, and I remember thinking that maybe, finally, our blended family had found its little rhythm. Now, my biological daughter, Izzy, she's getting married, and she wants the same thing. Same property, same barn, same everything that Logan had. On the surface, this seems completely reasonable, right? Of course, I want to give my daughter the wedding of her dreams. Of course, I want her to have what her stepsister had, but here's where it gets really, really complicated. Izzy wants to invite her mom, my ex-wife Marisol, and Marisol's entire extended family, and I had a restraining order against several of them until about 8 months ago. You know, I need to give you some context, right? And I'll try to keep it brief, even though this whole mess spans 15 years. Marisol and I divorced when Izzy was 13. It wasn't just messy, it was traumatic in ways I still unpacking in therapy. Marisol has become increasingly volatile. Volatile during our last years together, and the breaking point came when she attacked me with a kitchen knife during an argument about custody arrangements. I ended up with 17 stitches and a concussion from hitting the counter when I fell, and she says it's my fault for marrying a Latina. Well, but that wasn't even the worst part. After I got primary custody, her family, they go and launch what I call, well, the campaign of terror. Her brothers would show up at my work, threatening me in the parking lot, and her sister called my employer trying to get me fired with false allegations. They would drive by the house at all hours, and sometimes just sitting outside for hours on end. One of her cousins created a fake social media profile to message my clients, telling them I was, up to no good. I'm not going to get into it now because it involved lawyers and police reports, and eventually I got a restraining order against Marisol and 6 of her family members. Yep, 6. The restraining order expired 8 months ago. I haven't heard from any of them since it expired, and Marisol has apparently been stable for years now. Izzy says her mom is in therapy, she's on medication, and is genuinely a different person, and you know what? Maybe that's true. But when Izzy told me she wanted all of them at our property, our sanctuary, the place where Megan and I rebuilt our lives, I felt this cold dread wash over me. I sat with it for 3 days before responding. I mediated on it, talked to my therapist, discussed it endlessly with Megan, and I wanted so badly to say yes. But every time I imagined Marisol's family on our property, walking through our home, using our bathrooms, dancing in the barn we renovated with our own hands, I couldn't. I kept having these flashbacks, visceral, to finding my tires slashed, to changing our locks for the 5th time, to Izzy crying because her uncle had told her lies about me at her school pickup. So I told Izzy no, but I didn't just say no and leave it at that. I offered her $20,000, the same amount that we spent on Logan's wedding, to book any other venue that she wanted. I told her I would pay for the photographer, the catering, the flowers, everything. I even offered to rent a luxury outdoor restroom if she wanted to use my parents' property instead, since they have that beautiful garden. I thought I was being reasonable, generous even. Izzy's reaction shocked me. In 28 years, my daughter has never raised her voice at me, but she screamed. She screamed. She said I was showing my true colors, that Logan was my real daughter, and she was just the obligation I got stuck with. And she brought up every time I'd missed her events because of custody schedule conflicts, and every Christmas that got complicated because of the restraining order. Every family vacation she could not fully enjoy because we couldn't all be in the same place. She went on to say the property wasn't just mine and Megan's. It was her childhood home, too. Or at least it should have been if her mother and I had not destroyed everything with our drama. She said Logan got the fairy tale wedding while she was being offered portable toilets and a check to go away. The conversation ended with her hanging up on me. 20 minutes later, she posted something vague but pointed on Facebook about learning who really considers you family. She didn't mention names, but everyone knew. My phone starts blowing up immediately. My mother, who absolutely adores Izzy and has always thought the sun rises and sets with her, calls me up crying. She said that I was being cruel and petty, holding on to old grudges while my daughter just wants her family together for one special day. She actually suggested that maybe Megan and Logan should just, quote, make themselves scarce for the wedding so everyone could be comfortable. When I pointed out how insane that sounded, asking my wife to go and leave her own home, my mother said, well, you're asking Izzy to exclude her own mom. My sister, who's always maintained a relationship with Marisol despite everything, which has been its own source of pain, sent me this long text about how I'm still trying to control the narrative and play the victim. She said the restraining order was excessive, that I'd blown everything out of proportion during the divorce, and that I need to man up for my daughter's sake. Even my father, who's usually firmly in my corner, said I should consider. He reminded me that Logan's wedding went off without a hitch, that we have security cameras, and that it's just one day. What's the worst that could happen? He said they act up, you ask them to leave, but at least you won't have ruined your relationship with Izzy. But here's what they don't understand. It's not about what might happen, it's about what already happened. It's about the anxiety disorder I developed during those years. It's about the fact that I still sometimes wake up in cold sweats when I hear a car idle outside too long. It's about protecting the peace Megan and I worked so hard to build. Megan has been supportive, but I can tell that she's struggling. She loves Izzy like her own daughter, has been in her life since she was 15, and she offered to reach out to Izzy herself to explain that this decision was mine alone. But Izzy will not take her call. Logan is devastated that Izzy thinks she got preferential treatment, and she pointed out that her wedding did not include anyone who had literally threatened our family. But even she said maybe we should find a compromise. The compromise suggestions just kept coming. What if Marisol's family could come to the ceremony but not the reception? What if we hired security for that one day? What if I left the property and left Megan host it? What if we set strict boundaries about where they could and couldn't go on the property? But every compromise feels like I'm being asked to pretend the past didn't happen. Like I'm supposed to just forget the years of harassment, the therapy, the medication. I had to just, function. And maybe that makes me selfish. Maybe that makes me a bad father. I honestly do not know anymore. Izzy has not responded to any text in 2 weeks. The last thing she sent me was, I always knew Logan meant more to you. Thanks for finally being honest about it. So I'm just sitting here wondering if I should just give in. Tell Izzy yes, deal with the anxiety, maybe take medication and get through the day. Maybe ask Megan and Logan to stay at a hotel that night so they don't have to interact with Marisol's family. It would probably destroy my marriage. Make Logan feel like I'm choosing Izzy over her and set my mental health back literally years. But at least I would not lose my daughter. So guys, am I the a-hole for not letting my daughter use our property for her wedding because her mother's family will be there? Please let me know the honest opinion in the comment section. I need help. Update number 1. She's getting married without us. It's been 4 long months. So after 2 months of complete silence, Izzy finally reached out, but not to reconcile. She called to inform me in this cold formal voice that I've never heard from her before that she would not be using our property for her wedding. She decided to have it at my mother's house instead, and my mother, who had been firmly Team Izzy from the start, immediately offered her backyard and even volunteered to pay for renovations to make it wedding ready. So, I should mention that my mother's property is lovely, but small. A typical suburban lot with maybe a quarter acre of a backyard, nothing like the meadow and barn Izzy had originally wanted. But Izzy said that she'd rather have a small wedding with people who actually want me there, than a grand affair where she's made to feel like an intruder. Oh, that stung. But what came next was even worse. She said that she still expected the $20,000 I'd offered, but now it would go toward renovating my mother's backyard, new deck, landscaping, rental tent, the works. My mother even backed her up, saying it was the least that I could do after ruining her dreams. I agreed immediately, hoping it might be a bridge toward reconciliation. I even offered to help with the renovations myself, but Izzy said she didn't want me anywhere near the preparation. So, the family dynamics have been absolutely toxic. My sister has been feeding information back and forth, stirring the pot every chance that she gets. She told Marisol's family that Megan was the one who manipulated me into saying no. She told my mother that Logan had been gloating about having had the better wedding. None of it was true, but the damage was done. The worst casualty has been Mark, Logan's husband. He's been working for my father's company for 4 years, but the family drama made everything unbearable. My father, trying to stay neutral, had become awkward around him, and other relatives who worked there kept making comments, and Mark finally quit last month. Well, took a job 3 hours away. Logan went with him, obviously, which was devastating for Megan. She cries most nights, feeling like she's lost her daughter because of my baggage, and Logan sent Izzy one last text before moving, trying to explain that she would never wanted this, that she loved her like a sister, that the wedding venue thing was not about favoritism, and Izzy responded by blocking her on everything. 3 weeks ago, the wedding invitations arrived. It was addressed only to me, no +1, no mention of Megan, and inside was a small handwritten note from Izzy that said, "Mom's family does not feel safe around Megan and Logan. I'm sure you can understand, given your own feelings about safety." The irony was not lost on me. She was using my own logic against me, and honestly, she had every right to. But it still felt like a knife twisting. Megan saw the invitation and just said, "You should go. She's your daughter." No anger, no tears, just this resigned sadness that broke my heart more than a fight ever could. She said that she'd spent the day with her sister, maybe drive her out to visit Logan and Mark, make the best of it. I went to the wedding alone, and the moment I arrived at my mother's house, I knew that I'd make a mistake coming. Marisol's entire family was there, of course. Her brothers, the one who threatened me, stood by the entrance like a sentinel. They didn't say anything, just watched me with these cold expressions in their eyes, and her sister, the one who tried to get me fired, actually smirked when she saw me. Marisol herself looked good, healthy. She's clearly been taking care of herself, and for a moment I could see the woman I'd fallen in love with decades ago. She nodded at me, civil but distant, and that was our only interaction. The ceremony was beautiful, despite everything. My mother had worked miracles with her backyard. White flowers everywhere, these twinkling lights strung between the trees, and even a small wooden ark covered in ivy. Izzy looked radiant in her dress, the same designer Logan had used. I noticed, though no one mentioned it. When it came time for her to walk down the aisle, I started to stand, assuming that I've been walking with her, but she walked past me and took the arm of her half-brother Marisol's son from her second marriage, a kid that I've never even met. The look that my mother gave me could have curdled milk. I sat back down and watched my daughter get married from the third row. During the reception, I tried to participate, gave a toast that was polite but clearly unwelcome, and mostly just sat at my assigned table, notably far from the main family table, nursing a single glass of wine and checking my phone. Megan kept texting, making sure that I was okay, and I lied and said I was fine. When I finally went to say goodbye to Izzy to congratulate her one more time, she pulled me aside. For a moment, I thought maybe we would have a breakthrough. Instead, she said, "I should have just eloped. This whole thing was a mistake. You and Mom have made everything about yourselves like you always do. Even today, everyone's walking on eggshells, worried about your feelings, worried about her feelings. No one's just happy for me." Well, I tried to respond and to tell her how happy I was for her, how beautiful she looked, how proud I was, but she just shook her head and walked away. That was 3 months ago, and she's responded to maybe 2 of my text messages since then, both times with single-word answers. And, I found out from my mother last week, Izzy is pregnant, my first grandbaby. My mother accidentally let it slip, then immediately realized Izzy had not told me for a reason. She'll come around, my mother said, but her voice lacked conviction. I don't know if she will. I don't know if I've, permanently lost her over a single day. Is that even possible? A single decision. Megan says I did what I thought was right, that boundaries are important, and that Izzy is simply being manipulative. But Megan's daughter still talks to her. Megan's daughter still comes to visit, even from 3 hours away, and Megan is not lying awake at night wondering if she'll ever meet her grandchild. She's just not. Well, I don't know. I keep thinking about that day I said no. What if I would have just said yes? What if I've taken anxiety medication and powered through? What if I put my trauma aside for 8 hours? Would Izzy and I be planning nursery colors right now instead of existing in this horrible limbo? I don't know if I'm looking for advice or just screaming into the void, but for those who said I was not the a-hole in my original post, I'm starting to think that you were wrong, because being right doesn't mean much when you're alone. Update number 2. Final update, I found your post. Goodbye. Hey guys, I had not logged onto this account in 2 months, and honestly I've been trying to move forward sending Izzy the occasional thinking of you text, getting nothing back, trying to accept that this might be my new reality. Then yesterday I saw I had notifications, hundreds of them. My stomach dropped before I even opened up the app. The top comment on my original post, awarded multiple times, was from an account created that day. The username was a throwaway and a string of numbers, but I knew immediately who it was. My daughter had found my post. Here's what she wrote. Hi, Dad. Or should I say, some user on the internet seeking validation from strangers instead of actually listening to your daughter. Yeah, I found your post. Aunt Sharon could not resist sending it to me, because she's just as addicted to the drama as you are, and Mom. Congratulations on all your karma and awards. I'm sure that they're very comforting. Ooh. Since you've put our business out there for thousands of strangers to judge me, let me fill you in on the gaps you conveniently left out. You talk about Logan's perfect wedding like it was this beautiful family moment. Want to know what I remember? Standing in the background watching my stepsister get everything I dreamt of while knowing I'd never have it. Not because of money or venue, because my family was too broken to ever come together for me like that. You mentioned how Logan never got preferential treatment? Really? Let's talk about how Logan used to go through my things when we were teenagers. Take my clothing, my jewelry, even money from my wallet, and when I told you, you said that I was being dramatic, that I should be happy to share with my sister. And when she told you I was mean to her, though, immediate consequence for me. So, remember, when I got into university and you threw that big party, except you scheduled it on a weekend you knew my mom could not come because of the restraining order. And when I asked to move the party, you said the deposits are non-refundable. But when Logan graduated a year later, somehow the pretty date was flexible, enough to accommodate Mark's family flying in from Alberta. You paint Megan as this innocent victim caught in a crossfire, but let me tell ya, she's not. She just mastered the art of passive-aggressive manipulation. Every birthday card that was from Dad and Megan, but clearly only written by, her. Every Christmas where she'd sigh about how complicated everything was because of my mom, making sure I knew that I was the complication. Every time she'd say, "You're always welcome here," in that tone that means the exact opposite. Yeah, I know. So you guys want to know the truth? I hated being at your house. I hated being at Mom's house too. I spent my entire teenage years feeling like a refugee in both homes. Never really wanted, always the reminder of the war you two could not stop fighting even after the divorce. Therapy has been eye-opening. My therapist even says you and Mom both have narcissistic tendencies. Not the clinical disorder, but the trait. Everything has to be about your pain, your trauma, your healing. Even my wedding became about your restraining order, your anxiety, and your property. Not once did you consider what it meant to me to be told that my family wasn't welcome in what you call our home. You offered me money like that would fix it. Like I was some problem you could throw cash at to go away. Then you just go and act shocked that I took the money. What else was I supposed to do? You made it clear the only thing you were willing to give me was a paycheck. Want to know the saddest part? For a brief moment after I got engaged, I actually thought maybe this would bring everybody together. Maybe you and Mom could be civil for one day. Maybe we could pretend to be a normal family for 8 hours. But you could not even give me that illusion, and yes, I'm pregnant, as I'm sure your mother has told you. It's a boy. We're naming him after my husband's father, a man who's never met me but has already shown more interest in my life than you have in the past few years. I know you'll show this comment to Megan, and she'll tell you I'm being unfair, that I'm lashing out, that I will regret this, and you'll choose to believe her because it's easy. It's easier than admitting that you failed me. Not just with the wedding, I'm talking for years. Don't worry about the property. Enjoy it. Enjoy your perfect wife and perfect stepdaughter. Enjoy your restraining order stories and your victim narrative. Enjoy your karma. I hope it keeps you warm at night. Goodbye, Dad. Do not contact me again. I'll reach out if and when I'm ready. Based on how I feel right now, do not hold your breath. That comment, guys, was posted 6 hours ago, and it has 2,000 likes and a dozen of replies. Most supporting her, some calling me a monster, and others are saying everybody sucks. A few are defending me though, but their comments are getting downvoted to oblivion. I've read her comment probably 15 times now. Each time I notice something new that cuts deeper. The birthday party timing, I genuinely forgot about that. But she's right. The jewelry Logan took, I do remember dismissing it, thinking teenage girls just share things, and the Christmas comments from Megan, I never heard them as passive-aggressive, but maybe I wasn't really listening. I do want to defend myself. I want to explain that the restraining order wasn't some pretty vendetta, that I was genuinely afraid, that I was trying to protect everybody. I want to point out all the times I tried, all the therapy I paid for, all the custody battles I fought to stay in her life. But what's the point? She's made her decision, and maybe she's right about some of it. Maybe even most of it. I was so focused on protecting myself from Marisol's family that I couldn't see I was pushing Izzy away. I was just so busy trying to build a new life with Megan that I didn't notice my daughter felt like she didn't belong in it. My therapist would probably have a field day with this, and the irony that I've spent years in therapy dealing with trauma from the divorce, but never once did I do family therapy with Izzy. Never once did I sit down and ask her how she experienced those years. I just assumed she knew that I was doing my best. I keep thinking about what Izzy said, that I could not give her 8 hours of pretending to be a normal family. Would it really have been that hard to let Marisol's family come, to take some medicine, to get through the day? Other divorced parents do it all the time. They sit in the same church pews, they smile for photos, and they give speeches about their children without mentioning the custody battles and restraining order, but I couldn't. Or maybe I wouldn't, and now I'm living with the consequences. Guys, if you're reading this and you're divorced with kids or thinking about divorce, please get family therapy. Don't assume your kids are okay just because they're not actively falling apart. Listen to them. Really listen. Even when what they're saying hurts, even when it feels unfair, because being right is not worth losing them. That's it. That's the last update I'm doing. Take care. Hold your family close and try to be better than I was.